So you've used your value proposition canvas to document those hypotheses, those critical assumptions that underlie your value proposition. That's great. The next step, of course, is to go test those hypotheses. By the end of this video, you'll understand and know how to avoid the 5 most common mistakes I've seen entrepreneurs make when they go out to test their value proposition canvas. So a quick reminder, why test the value proposition? Well, it is, after all, the reason you captured all these hypotheses in the first place is to go test them to make sure that they're right. You're making a lot of assumptions, a lot of hypotheses. You believe you understand what the job is to be done from the customer's point of view. You believe you understand what the pain is they're trying to avoid or what the gain is that they're trying to attain. You make assumptions that your product is delivering the right feature set to deliver on the job to be done and to deliver on the gain that the customer wants and to deliver the pain relief the customer wants. But you're making even more assumptions than that. You believe that the customer isn't happy with what is out there today, and you think you understand why. You think that your solution will fit into the customer's workflow. You think that your pricing will be the right pricing for the customer, and you think that your messaging, the way that you talk about the problem and the solution, will actually resonate with customers. Again, that's a lot of assumptions. Problem is, not all those assumptions will be right. The only way to find out is to go out and test those assumptions. So how do you do that? How do you test your assumptions, your hypotheses that underlie your value proposition? Well, as Steve Blank would say, you get out of the building and talk to customers. So let's start with the most common mistake, which is to not do it at all, to not actually get out of the building and go talk to customers. You've captured all these assumptions or hypotheses in the canvas. You can get so confident that you're ready to charge ahead and develop the product. Or maybe you already started developing the product and then, after the fact, have developed your hypotheses in your canvas. Well, either way, take the time to stop and get out and talk to customers to test those hypotheses. You'll be much more likely to build a product that people want to buy if you take the time to test the value proposition. Common mistake number 2 is to take positive feedback as being validation of your value proposition. A lot of people might tell you, hey, that's a great idea. I'm sure a lot of people have that problem and I'm sure a lot of people will buy that. I think you should definitely go develop that product. It sounds great. Well, that sounded positive, didn't it? But it didn't sound like a customer because they didn't say, hey, I have that problem and you really understand the frustration I have. I'd really like to try out your solution. Is it available now? Can I test it? Can I buy it? If it's going into beta test, I'd love to be a beta test customer. Those sound like buying signs. That sounds like somebody who's actually got the problem that you're trying to solve, who has the pain or isn't realizing the gain that they'd like to. And that's what you're looking for. It's too easy for people to just listen to your idea and intellectually say, hey, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like a great idea. But that's not good enough. You're looking for people who have the problem, who want to buy a better solution than they have today. So don't settle for just positive feedback. Look for customers who actually want to buy a better solution. Common mistake number 3 is not talking to enough customers. You know, to validate your value proposition, you need to talk to more than just 2 or 3 of your best friends. Again, you're looking for customers, not just necessarily your best friends, and you'd really like to talk to quite a few more than 2 or 3. So how many should you talk to? Well, it gets into a kind of an arbitrary number. There is no one right answer, but I'd suggest talking to at least 30 customers, and more than that is even better. Now, even 30 from a statistical point of view is a pretty small sample, but if you talk to 30 prospective customers, you'll learn a lot, and you'll probably come up with some different ideas about what the problem is and what the solution should look like. So be sure you take the time to talk to enough customers. Mistake number 4 is talking to customers, but starting by talking about your product instead of talking about the customer's perspective. In other words, what the job is to be done, what's the pain, and what's the gain. If you start talking about your product at the beginning of the discussion, it really focuses the whole discussion on your product. You're missing the opportunity to really understand from the customer's perspective, what is the problem? I mean, what is it about the job that isn't getting done? What is it that's not being realized in terms of gain? What is it that causes the pain? Those are important things to talk about. So when you talk to those 30 customers, focus on the job, the pain, and the gain. Once you really think you understand that, you've talked to enough customers, your confidence is high that you understand their perspective, then you can go back and test your product. And again, as I suggested before, if you talk about the job, the pain, and the gain enough to enough customers, your idea of the solution will probably change. So test your product second. Make sure first you understand the job, the pain, and the gain. Mistake number 5 is not doing the interviews in person. The interviews involve asking probing questions. You're really assuming that you're not really sure of all the right questions to ask. So what you want to do is be in person so you can start with a beginning set of questions, but then listen to what the customer prospect says and follow up with additional probing questions. Now, you can't do that by posting a questionnaire on the internet. You can maybe approach it if you do the interview, say, via a video call. It's a little harder to do it by telephone. The thing you miss out with telephone is you're not being able to see body language. And body language can tell you a lot about how a customer really feels about whatever the topic is you're exploring. So watch body language and remember to listen. You should probably be listening more than you're talking, listening to the customer responses. So to sum up, take the time to test. Certainly don't skip this process. Get out of the building and talk to customers. And remember, just getting feedback about what a great idea it sounds like is not enough. You're looking for buying signs. You're looking for real potential customers. And be sure that you talk to enough customers. Again, I suggest 30, and more than 30 is certainly even better. Do in-person interviews, make it probing, ask follow-up questions. You'll learn more that way. And start with talking about the job to be done, the pain and the gain. Don't bring your product out front and center when you start these initial interviews. You really want to understand the customer perspective first on how they look at the problem, the pain, the gain, and the job to be done. That's a wrap for this presentation on the 5 common mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they're testing their value proposition. If this was helpful, please click the like button and share this with other entrepreneurs who might benefit from the information. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't seen some of our other videos in this sequence on value proposition and the canvas, there are some links here on the screen you can use to take a look at those. That's it for now. Thank you for watching.